Hey everyone, it's Jason Dunn here from Digital Home Thoughts, and today we're looking at kind of a bigger product. Now, most of the times I look at digital cameras, MP3 players, things like that that are pretty small, and even notebooks and laptops. This time I'm actually looking at a desktop computer. So this is a Lenovo ThinkCentre, and this is the A70z model. So this right here is the box. This is an all-in-one unit. And I'm going to show you what's inside the box and give you some first impressions and specifications on this all-in-one unit. I will point out right at the front, though, that this is focused mostly on small office, home office users and small businesses. So this is a little bit less consumer focused than I typically look at. But I think that once you take a look at how sort of compact this whole thing is, you can probably think of a lot of interesting places you could use a product like this in your own home or small office. So hold on and I'll open up the box. Alright, so here's everything inside the box. Now, on the side of the box down here, just a bit off camera, it actually has a recycling logo and it says reduce, reuse, recycle. So Lenovo has really taken sort of a green approach with a lot of aspects about this product, which we'll get into in a second. So we have basically just a really simple setup guide here. Now, this version of the product that I was sent, it comes with a standard wired keyboard. So let me just crack this open here. So this is just a very sort of plain Jane Lenovo, wired keyboard. There is an option for a wireless keyboard, but that wasn't what was sent to me to check out. And inside this box here, we have a wired mouse and a power cable. And then, of course, there's going to be some basic, restore CDs or DVDs and a small instruction manual here. But that's really about it, and that's one of the interesting things about the product. So here's the all-in-one, and you can see here this is like this is actually a reusable shopping bag. So I'll show it to you after I get the whole thing out of the box. So just stand by. All right, so this is the bag that Lenovo actually ships the A70z in. So as you can see, there's the actual computer, and that's the whole computer right there. So this bag, apparently, according to Lenovo, the bag, in shipping it this way, saves the equivalent of 250 cups and 139 plastic bags. So that's really cool. And the nice thing, of course, is actually this is pretty big. Now, I don't know if anyone really wants to advertise Lenovo's branding when they're going shopping. It might have been cool if they maybe did something a little bit more subtle if they want people to actually use this. But overall, I think it's a nice touch. So let me get this computer actually set up so we can take a look at it. All right, so basically, here's everything in the box. So we have the actual A70z right here. We have the keyboard, and we have the mouse and the power cable. So really, really easy, to get it out of the box. Lenovo claims a 3-minute sort of box to setup time, and I think that's entirely accurate. I mean, there's virtually nothing to do here. You basically, you connect the mouse, connect the keyboard, connect the power, hit boot, and then you can actually start to set it up. Now, I want to mention this right up front. This particular configuration that I was sent here, it retails for $729 US, and the A70z, it starts at $499. So depending on which configuration you get, it can go, from $499 up to $729. And I believe this is the most high-end configuration, although there may be a slightly different version that comes with a wireless mouse and keyboard that would cost a little bit more. So let's just kind of take a look at what you kind of get. Now, again, I mentioned, the mouse is entirely, it's nothing special. I mean, I frankly really wouldn't use this. I don't really like using a wired mouse, but if you want to, it's there for you to use. The keyboard, again, this is just your sort of very, very standard keyboard. It has a slightly, looks like it has a blue enter key, which is kind of interesting on both sides here. Again, not particularly something that I would probably want to use myself. I prefer a wireless mouse and keyboard. But again, this is, it comes with the package, and so it's free. Now, let me just grab the camera here and let's zoom in and take a bit of a closer look at the A70z. Now, the first thing that you kind of notice, and this really for me is fairly important, the design of it. You can tell really that this was aimed at small office, home office, kind of business users, because there's really nothing about this design that is very nice looking. And that's not to say that this design is awful, but it just looks very corporate, very, safe. Nothing's kind of glossy or shiny, which in a way is actually pretty good. It's quite understated, which I think is good, for businesses. I was a little bit disappointed to see, I'm just going to zoom in here down at the bottom, to see all these ridiculous stickers on it again. I always complain about this on laptops, but it's so silly that they go through all the trouble to create this sort of overall branding experience, and then they kind of slap all these silly stickers on the front. I would imagine that all of them are removable. I will point out too that this section down here, this whole thing is actually the speaker grill. So that's where you actually see the speakers. Now let me talk about just for a second about the display. So the display is actually, it's 19 inches across this way. It's a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is very common, for a lot of desktop computer monitors right now. 16:10, which is sort of the old standard, gives you a little bit more height, and I actually prefer 16:10, but it's getting virtually impossible to find 16:10 monitors anymore. Pretty much everything's all 16:9. Now, so it's a 19-inch across, and it's 1,440 pixels across by 900 pixels tall. Now, 19 inches, it's kind of funny, right? All of my monitors are 24 inches or 27 inches, or I use like a 32-inch LCD TV. So when I look at a 19-inch monitor, my first impression is, wow, that's really small. But, in the corporate world, I guess there's a lot of people maybe that don't need a really big monitor. So once I power it up, and we'll kind of check out how it feels, to me, again, 19 inches feels a little bit small, but by going with a smaller monitor size, they're obviously able to keep the cost down, and that's obviously going to be a really significant feature. So let me zoom in up at the top here, and I'll show you the webcam and microphone. I think my camera's having a slightly hard time focusing. But yeah, basically here's the webcam. It's a 1.3 megapixel webcam. It does have a built-in microphone. It's a little bit goofy that they actually put an icon for the microphone here and an icon for the webcam, as if people wouldn't realize that that's a webcam and the little hole's a microphone. So I think that's actually kind of silly, and it makes the whole design a little bit goofy. But again, this is, I guess, maybe focused at corporate markets and, small offices, and maybe people in offices need to know where to look for the webcam. So I'm going to pause the camera. We're going to take a look at the sides and the back. So hang on. All right, so here's the side of the A70Z. So let me zoom in up top here so we can check out some of the controls. So right here, this looks like a monitor contrast and brightness. I'll verify that once it boots up, but when you see a little sunshine, it tells you pretty much that this is going to be, for making it brighter, and this is making it dimmer. That's kind of intriguing to me because, typically on a desktop monitor, you don't have immediate control over that. You need to go into the settings, and typically once you set the brightness, you never really change it. You only kind of see something like that typically on laptops where you're changing the brightness quite a bit. Now down here we have a few ports. So we have 3 USB ports here. We have an external microphone input jack, and then we have a headphone jack. So again, really nice and easy to have these on the sides, so they're easy to access. And let me just zoom out here for a second, and I'll just rotate this around so we can take a look at the back of it. So as you can see, sort of the defining feature on the back here is this large, basically it's sort of like a kickstand. This is sort of its natural resting position, so you can see it's kind of flexible, but if you really wanted to, you can actually adjust this, and it looks like, yeah, so it kind of clicks in there, and then that's sort of like the first click, and then if you want to have it at an even steeper angle, you can go all the way as steep as this, which is bizarrely steep, but there you go. Now, I'm just going to zoom in down here so we can take a look at what is on the back, because it might surprise you. That's right, we have a serial port. So for you younger people watching this video, you might not even know what a serial port is. This is a port that is essentially faded away from general consumer use. You used to hook up, way back in the day, like old, serial modems and other things. I was going to say printers, but printers used a parallel port, another completely dead format. And then, of course, down here you have 3 more USB ports. We have an Ethernet port here for wired Ethernet. Now, this model, if memory serves, I believe it does come with built-in Wi-Fi, although I will double check that. And then there's also the power plug here. Now, I asked Lenovo why they included a serial port, and essentially what they came back to me and said was that they have some businesses, they're using these types of units as like point of sale systems, you know, so they're actually using them up at counters to check out customers and whatnot. And there's actually, you know, devices out there that are still using serial ports. So that's essentially why it's there. Again, not something that an average person is going to use, but it might be nice to, you know, to have it. And now let me just take a look at this side, and you will see this is the optical drive. So a CD, DVD burner. So actually, sorry, I take it back. It's not a DVD burner. It is a DVD-ROM, and it's going to be. I'm sure that it burns CDs. Yeah, weird. Okay, so it does have the logo for burning DVDs, and so my little spec sheet here that I'm reading all this stuff off of is evidently not accurate. So there you go. Now, I'm going to turn this around to the front. We're actually going to power it up and check it out. Hold on.